Pinkie Pie's crawling labyrinth. Now, there's a game that takes me back. One that I wish I still had with me after all these years of it being lost. I wish my mom would have informed me first before giving it away at that yard sale. But in her defense, I never thought it would become this hard to find either. Part of the reason likely being that I cannot remember the developer's name for the life of me, no matter how hard I wonder. Whenever I think of pony-themed horror, the first thing that pops up is this concoction I bought at my local Brony Expo, preceding 2013. Weirdly enough, so few of the demo discs were made in that venue. Maybe 19 or 20 copies tops, but it could have been lesser. The promo art covering the square crystal case, though, was what hooked me the most into getting it. Especially keeping in mind that there was no demo or gameplay trailer in sight. God, it had such a bizarre art style. Imagine Austin Mengler's weird creature features chewing up the Care Bears and spitting them out into an unbridled mess. Erase the color, make everything monochromatic. That's what I was looking at. Most of the main six's heads surrounded Rainbow Dash's dome against a rusty wall texture, shaded with vignette. Pinkie, or in this case, Pinkamena, was in the top center. And everyone, with the exception of Rainbow, had a scuffed up, ghostly visage. Pretty cool. If I had a picture in my old SD card still, I would definitely show it. However, I do have shots of the game while I was playing at the time. I obtained this disc when I was not even 10 years old, and I wasn't allowed to have an email or social media account. So the closest I could get to showing my friends at school was by carrying a codec. Apologies for the bad quality. Booting up the game, I saw a menu with features that presumably were trying to mislead me. Instead of Pinkie Pie's crawling labyrinth, the title read Pinkie's Cupcake Craze, written in a bubbly striped candy font, and the background music was a chiptune remix of the Smile song. An okay approach, but didn't this kind of defeat the purpose of a fake-out? I get that this was still in an open alpha state, but bear in mind that I knew it was meant to be horror ordained from the beginning. The story played out like this. A majority of the main six have disappeared without a trace, including Mr. and Mrs. Cake, who were at first assumed to be going on a business trip to Manhattan. Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie are the only two left out of the main ponies. Rainbow trudges down the gravel road of Ponyville to Sugar Cube Corner, camera slowly panning to the left, revealing missing posters of her closest friends. Arriving at the bakery, Dash greets Pinkie, clothed with a single purple blanket, hair drooping straight down and desperately trying to hold in tears.
Pinkie!
Dashy, you're a bit late, but thanks for showing up anyways. Cupcakes are still fresh.
Yeah, sorry. Scooter hasn't been in school for days, and I had to drop off some lunch for her. She told me she's sick of losing every—
Just sit down, will you? I can't stomach your excuses today.
Rainbow considered snapping back, but hesitated upon seeing Pinkie on the verge of sobbing her heart to pieces. So she picked the latter. A tidbit of muted, chirping birds sounded about. Pinkie's view circled the room, completely devoid of personal affinities. Only cake batter.
Huh. Nothing.
What am I supposed to say, Pinkie? None of this is your fault. You didn't know what to do. You weren't aware either. You don't gotta punch yourself into the dirt this much over it.
You just don't get it, do you? I have nothing, Dashi, and I'm positive I won't have you for very long either.
Come on, don't just say that. We get sweated to the fullest until we get old. I mean, hey, I'm at least grateful to still have you while all of this is happening.
I'm sorry, grateful? Grateful?
Pinkie exploded with ire and slammed her front hooves on the wooden table. Fumes blew from her nose, making Rainbow Dash flinch with every breath. A deep sigh.
You think I'm grateful to have sit there and watch you show off every morning with no one to tell you off? Grateful to have no third or fourth or fifth voice to give us solace right now? Grateful to feel nothing but nausea just thinking about how you stood by and did nothing? While we lost what made us, us? Well, let me tell you this. What I could be grateful for when we just so much as try to make it won't be there. I will end up tearing asunder what you think of me, especially your overconfidence in everything. We will become bitter. For Celestia's sake, you're seeing it come out of me right this second. If we had no one else to look up to, aside from a monarch that we are supposed to love, then what? What are we gonna do? You stupid, ditzy, heedless, grateful? Grateful?
An uncomfortably long pause before Rainbow Dash just barely spoke up.
Pinkie? This isn't you!
Oh, really? What made you think? It's not that I don't want you in my life. It's that I want you to just grow a backbone. I know that's rich coming from me, the one who has a string of candy for a spine, but I can't see someone I love just ignore herself anymore. Not at a time like this.
Pinkie slumped over the table and gently sandwiched her front hooves over Dashy's cheeks, caressing, attempting to bring in some very strange, awkwardly timed comfort.
Open your mouth for me.
What?
Ugh, your breath smells awful. Tongue's bone dry. Have you eaten anything yet?
No, not for the past 2 days.
The tray of cupcakes, all themed after those they had once ventured with, slid forward to Dashy's side of the table. A number of them were already dined on, though not entirely eaten. There was one that caught her eye, one that gleamed a pretty swirl of multiple colors, mostly blue icing. All of the hues that patterned her mane. Pinkie sniffled, voice cracking through her words.
Maybe this will help you. At least, rest easy.
For the first and only time throughout the game, they shared a smile. A smile that didn't reassure, but made them build up false hope. Hope and beg that their future didn't fall down the drain. But Rainbow Dash's consciousness surely did. after eating that cupcake. Right then and there, the pony wobbled backwards, struggling to keep her eyes open. The last thing she saw before everything faded to murk and then to a loading screen with 3 small wrapped taffies on the bottom right was Pinkie, slowly stepping over to catch her as she fell out of her seat. The vision of nothing slowly changed into a new setting. A chamber of cold steel and stained velvet, with Rainbow Dash still unconscious on the floor. Wings now reduced to featherless, bleeding stubs, hastily wrapped in gauze. They were clipped as soon as she fell asleep. The screen's fog lessened, and we could see Pinkie stepping out of the chamber before locking up. The clopping of her hooves followed. The art style switched from fully colored frame-by-frame animation to sketch stills on printer paper, conflated together to make a sprite. An inky smudged message showed up in the center of the screen, next to a sketched visual of a keypad. Press 8 to wake up. Pressing the key would make Rainbow Dash disgracefully push herself off the ground, back against the alloyed barriers, before standing four-hooved. We get a short burst of dialogue from her.
Ugh, where am I? It's so cold in here. Those cupcakes! What were in those cupcakes? And... yeah! My wings! What happened to my... oh, Celestia, it hurts!
This is where the real gameplay began. A HUD glided into view, consisting of a health bar, stamina bar, 5-hour timer that instantly dwindled down, and an animated portrait of Dashi, showing her current state, changing whenever she's tired, dying, or afraid. It played out like a side-scrolling, point-and-click adventure. Find various items that can help you escape. Click on objects related to your searches for tips, etc. Clicking on the chamber door led to it obviously being locked behind a puzzle. Checking around the current room I was in, I spotted nothing of use. But when I turned left and arrived into the next half of the area, I was greeted with none other than the 2 owners of Sugar Cube Corner, Mr. and Mrs. Cake, in a ragdolled sitting position, decomposing into nothing more than maggot feed. Eyes melting like bags of dirty, liquefied marshmallow paste. Toothless, penniless, and alone. The trip to Manhattan, all but a facade. Rainbow Dash gagged at the sight, covering her mouth, the HUD portrait changing alongside her expression, before returning back to her normal idol. The way to escape was by rummaging through Mrs. Cake's hair for pins, and plucking her slightly tarnished earrings to craft a makeshift lockpick. When you eventually crack all 5 locks on the door to leave, the game prevents you from going any further without finding a pocket for your future items. Mr. Cake's apron acts as an inventory pouch to tie around your neck, and it's only able to carry up to 6 items. There were 4 more chambers following the first one, each of them containing a monster you must defend yourself from with various scattered tools. I'm just going to lay it straight. All of the main 6 were alive. Well, sort of alive. They were more like undead. If I can describe them, discluding Rainbow Dash and Pinkie, in one word, it would be Flanderizations. Their cutie marks were torn off of their flanks, leaving behind exposed muscle tissue. This led to them not only losing their special talents, but becoming exaggeratingly inflated with a single trait, transforming into virtually thoughtless animals. First chamber you had to escape belonged to Fluttershy. You know how Fluttershy's main gift is her expertise in animal handling? Here, she's been dumbed down to a wild animal herself. A possum-like maw, grinning ear to ear. And whenever she saw you, you had to run and find a locker in her severed limb-infested zoo to hide in. Unfortunately, some animals down there were still living, and simply being in their line of sight will alert them. When they're in panic, Fluttershy is in panic too, and you're less likely to find a good hiding spot. One technique you can use to stun Fluttershy, however, is by slamming open the locker you were hiding in right in her face, providing a 5-second head start. There's a hidden bear claw in the area that you must find as a substitute to your lockpick, as it will break when you try to bypass the next chamber. This game likes to play dirty at times. Next one is Rarity, a design that was ugly as sin. As expected, since her special talent relates to beauty. Her once well-conditioned magenta mane now infested with mites and shriveling from her scalp. Chicken scratch pupils facing their opposite directions, teeth and gums decaying, beset with flaky plaque. Rarity has very limited linear sight, so you can pretty much just hide under a table when she shows up. However, that doesn't mean her focus is as bad. The only way to throw her off is by finding a shattered, handheld mirror inside of her memento room and shining it in her face to shock her. Some sort of gluey material is needed to fix it, and you're only able to stun Rarity 6 times before she catches on. Do watch out for floor traps and built-in wall cameras. She's immune to flashing, and the spikes barely affect her already cracked skin. Then there's Applejack. In the show, Applejack has enough strength to simply kick a tree and make every apple fall down. Here, she's a hulking, veiny brute. Unlike the other characters, she can kill you in a single swipe if you make one wrong move. You can't stun her, but you can at least impose yourself as less of a threat so she'll ignore you. Mash the spacebar to stay completely frozen in place. Standing idle will not work. There is a cell key in a mouse hole, and to receive it, you have to lower yourself deep down into a dry well, containing haystacks that you can pluck a mouthful from and tie together. Applejack's angered grunting from above can startle you, leading to you rapidly pressing the left and right keys to stay in balance. Finally, we have Twilight, the most complicated. Her special talent is magic handling, as well as having a bountiful amount of knowledge on pony kind. Down in her chamber, she was a puppet with a continuously sparking horn, held by transporting strings. Her brain was so enlarged that it took up almost all of her insides, puffing out of her orifices. Eyes, mouth, nose, ears, everywhere. Crucified with no cross to bear. 5 keys were scattered around her halls, but not hidden in any holes or crevices. They were floating in random directions at specific times, and you had to catch them as soon as they came flying in. Yet stones, medium-sized chunks of iron from the floors, and other bits of debris flew in, which you had to avoid. Being too close to Twilight's proximity would cause her to violently shake in her strings, the debris to fly faster, and an inhuman cry to fill the halls. If you couldn't get out of the scream's sound waves fast enough, it would take out half of your health, and you wouldn't be able to bring it back up to a full bar. Being struck with it a second time will make Rainbow's ears explode on screen. There are 2 endings. One, if you don't escape within the 5-hour time period, and another where you do. Ending number 1. The timer reaches 0, and all of the background music falls silent. The noises of unlocking and creaking metal doors grow louder, until you pause. The camera pans to the right. You see Pinkie, unmoving, globes sunken into her sockets. Cut to black, and you get a slideshow of highly detailed art. Pinkie bringing false consolation to those she had trapped below, and the families of each victim trying to handle their grief. All ending with shots of Rainbow Dash, that storm cloud cutie mark scratched away from her flank. Straitjacketed, bolting around her cell head first into the cold enclosure. Ending number 2. You get out of Twilight's cell, and the timer disappears. Before you climb the ladder back up to the surface, Rainbow Dash notices a handle on the wall with a rusty plaque labeled "Release" in thick, bold letters. She hesitates.
What do I do? Will I lose more?
Just as she was about to refuse her own judgment, she hears high-pitched, pained yelps high above. She squints, as if she knew exactly where those noises were coming from, before biting the bullet. Down went the lever. As she crawled up the ladder, the echoed grunts and squeaks from above increased in volume. The light shone down upon her from the cracks of the trapdoor. Her hoof reeled back and punched it open, triggering another loading screen. Before we got to see who was making those noises, it was none other than Pinkie Pie, dreadfully piercing her skin with a sewing needle and a twine of thread, blankets still covering most of her body. The pin drops, clink, and her head snaps to her left. The rage channeled deep inside of her.
What are you doing out of your cell?
Rainbow Dash takes her last step out of the trapdoor. Dialogue between the two ensues.
You lied to me.
Answer my
I
question!
cared for you when you needed it. And I thought you felt the same way. I gave you my special blanket I had since I was a filly. To show you that I'm at least there when you need it. But then I wake up to all of this. They didn't even know themselves anymore. They don't even know my name when I scream it to them. What did you do to them?
Pure, uninterrupted silence. There wasn't even a single cicada chirping outside. Finally, Pinkie gritted her teeth and unveiled the truth.
You really think that a blanket is going to fix my problem?
How could you say that?
It's because I'm scared! I'm scared, Dashi! One of these days, I'm gonna shut my eyes and wake up to nothing. I don't know how, or when or where, or whether or not someone else will cause it. But I'll still cash in my chips someday, and if I do nothing about it, I'll have nothing to bring with me. I'll stop thinking. I'll be memoryless and lonely. I want earlooms. Earlooms to remember before I snuff it. Even if there's an afterlife, I can't bring photos or poems or whatever you might have made for me. All I could do is find something I know I can't lose. I love you. I love you so much that I want... No, I need your name engraved on me. It's the only solution I have. Don't you realize that? Can't you snap out of your ego for one measly second and see it through?
Rainbow shudders and stomps closer. The background audio was diverted from dead silence to an ear-piercing ring.
I can't believe this. You really expect me to forgive you? After all that I have to go through down there? Are you out of your mind?
The others didn't seem to refute, Dashi. You can hop in with your friends if you want. They're patient. All you gotta do is crawl down that ladder and wait. What? Don't like the mayor you really knew? Don't care for the desperate?
I'm going to kill you, you fucking maniac!
Rainbow sprinted at Pinkie, who threw the blanket off of her before facing off, revealing the cutie marks missing from the monster's flanks, crudely stitched onto her own. Twilight's was still unfinished, healing from its corner. with a lone string dangling by the hind leg. The final boss battle begins. The background music now struck into an intense orchestra of violins and trumpets, like one you would hear from an old Tchaikovsky number. Pinkie's fight relied on quick-time event sequences. A 5-second timer showed up, along with a line of arrows that you had to type just right. Each successful attempt, Rainbow would get one of her strikes in, and with every 3, she'd push Pinkie closer to the trapdoor. The sequences periodically became harder to type, and you are given less time to finish. The timer could go from 4 seconds to 3 to 2. It was very difficult, almost unfair. I had to reopen my latest save about 7 times, yet on my 7th go, I noticed something next to the tray of cupcakes on the ground. A heavily transparent E with a circle around it, swiftly lowering. Pressing E triggered a bonus route that helped you skip half of the fight. I don't know if it was an Easter egg by the developer, or just something fully intended to give bad players a head start. But nevertheless, it helped a lot. Gave me a satisfying shot, too. Pinkie is pinned down next to the cupcake tray. Most of the splattered pastries were still in one piece, in spite of the mess, including Rainbow's, still having that little chunk bitten out of it. Rainbow smirks, and her eye twitches, just thinking about the hell she ran through. And it all could have been prevented if she just kept her tongue tied. Now she really knows who ate the rest of the pan. She growls.
You couldn't keep your making down?
Rainbow picked up the cupcake with her teeth and ruinously crammed it down Pinkie's throat with no second thought. Chunks of pink icing and solidified baking powder shot out of her mouth like gunpowder.
How do you like it? How does it feel? You can suck it back!
Pinkie flailed and gagged on the poisoned food before pushing Dashi off of her. Now was her chance to land the final blow. Pinkie's distraction from vomiting up the cupcake led to Dashi getting a good, forceful headbutt rammed into her belly. Down she fell into the pit of her mistakes, and slam. The trapdoor closed her in. Wham. A loud, sudden, and uncomfortable thud hit the hard ground under what was now Pinkie's bakery. Rainbow collapsed on her side, hyperventilating from the lengthy, unreal nightmare. She had nothing to say anymore. Twilight, Pinkie, Rarity, the rest of them. They were all like a second family to her. A second family that didn't clamor for her attention or didn't hesitate to leave her uncorrected. Whenever they were there, she didn't have a reason to feel disconsolate. even on days where they actively started a problem or got on her nerves. She wouldn't have had it any other way. At least it's them doing the bickering, and not some stranger stallion. Now, all of that is reduced to nothing. She now got a taste of how Pinkie had felt from last dawn. Like nothing. Having nothing. And feeling nothing. Until the world would come back one last time to spit in her face with Pinkie's voice.
Dashi! Get me out of here!
Another message slowly faded in. Press X to resist, or Z to regret. X was the only viable option I had, knowing how far from saving Pinkie was at this point. Since then, I've never gotten to see what the other option triggered. Would Dashi have joined her in the depths? Or been betrayed if she set out to help her slip away? Unless this game is found, I may never know. Pinkie just kept begging and begging, with the vantage point slowly zooming in on Dashi's traumatized face. The more it zoomed in, the more a song started to become perceptible. An acoustic guitar, covering the Smashing Pumpkins' Crestfallen. The last thing I heard before the story concluded was various sounds underground. A cry of distress that Rarity would definitely make. Heavy grunting. Wails of a wild animal. And a wicked, loud yell. Succeeded by Pinkie screaming at something to get away from her.
Get away from me!
There were no closing credits, only a "thank you for playing" message from the developer. And as I've said before, I can't call back their name. There was a link to their website in the bottom center, but even if it was found, it would probably be long dead by now. Now, one unusual thing about this game is that you can't replay it. After you beat it, there is no main menu, no saves, nothing. If you want to play the game again, you have to find a whole new computer to play it on. When you open the game back up, you are instantly given a looping animation of Rainbow Dash, wrapped in the same purple blanket Pinkie wore, in front of a now boarded up sugar cube corner, sipping on hot chocolate. The doors and windows were strewn with police tape. Big Macintosh, Applejack's brother, steps in and sits next to the once happy and hyperactive pony. The two exchange glances before the animation of them sitting together goes back to looping with no end. We get one last conversation.
Sorry, big guy. He meant a lot to me, too. Hey, if it isn't too much trouble, You want me to help around the farm when things die down a bit? I mean, I've got no other choice but to take it slow now.
Yup.
Thanks, Big Mac.
No problem, kid.